Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the PodUp with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. PodUp, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
7-7.
Good morning and welcome to a Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Monday edition. That means JC. It also means Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com will be joining us. Before we get started, though, our thoughts and prayers go out to Keontae Johnson. We haven't had any new updates. Very disturbing. I've had issues sleeping, just worried about that kid. So hopefully we can get some good news here soon. Some good news is it's the 1-year anniversary of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. Mm-hmm. And we're going to show a quick little video here that our staff has put together. It's about 4 or 5 minutes. It's outstanding. Talking about our guests and all our sponsors and how many, over almost 2 million people have viewed our shows. So we're going to run that real quick. Our producer's going to run it. When we come back, we'll be talking sports, and obviously we got a lot to talk about. So yes, JC, sit back and enjoy the video.
Can't wait. Let's watch.
The JC and the QB are back once again here on PodUp with Shane Matthews, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. We are doing this to have fun, but to also contribute and have people participate in on Facebook Live and on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, we'll have some good guests. We're joined by 1996 Heisman Trophy winner Danny Werfel. Coach Steve Spurrier in studio today. Chris Doring, number 33, Eric Rett. Bob Stoops. Becky Burley.
Billy Donovan.
Ahmad Black. Jack Youngblood. Fred Taylor. Coach Galen Hall. Dr. Pete Indelicado. Mr. Nat Moore, Lauren Hager, Jabbar Gatman, Big Mac Starks, Mr. Chris Patrick, with my man Dallas Baker. And then we're going to have the interview with Coach Bowden and the head ball coach.
They played us and we played them. It knocked probably both of us out of maybe a couple of national championships during that time. But I'm sure Coach Bowden was the winningest coach in college football all through that era.
And nobody could throw the ball like Steve Spurrier.
Coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visors Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators come to celebrate.
And we're joined by Pizza Bill Feinberg, Mr. J.D. Bates, number 14, Ernie Mills,
Carlos Alvarez,
Kerwin Bell, Gary Cope, Doug Johnson, Chris Lee, good old buddy Martin, Scott Carter, Brent Beard, Mr. Pat Dooley.
Did you ever have any run-ins with the head ball coach, Coach Spurrier?
I did. So Spurrier's last year was my freshman year at Florida. And I worked in the football office just part-time. And it's funny, my name is Jessica, but my nickname is Jess. Nobody in my entire life has ever called me Jessie. I'm so not a Jessie. I'm a Jess if you're going to abbreviate my name. But the one person who is allowed to call me Jessie is Steve Spurrier, because he adds an IE to everybody's name. So every time I'd see him in the football office, he'd be like, hey Jessie, how you doing? So Steve Spurrier, Ichiro used to call me Jessie when he was playing for the Marlins. So Steve Spurrier and Ichiro are the two people in my life who get a pass calling me Jessie.
That's great.
So we did a little Zoom call for a bunch of former teammates and friends of Danny Werfel for his last birthday, and you named one of your chickens after Danny.
Yeah, you want to see him? Do we have time?
Yeah, we got time. Walk out there. Let's check him out.
Okay. You know, I was really worried because I didn't want to have to eat Danny Werfel. If the roosters, they get really loud and mean, you know, I don't want to like put them away for nothing. And nobody, it's kind of hard to find people that want roosters because it's the same deal, and they can be so loud. But I like having them around. And Danny Werfel is the best behaved. He's very polite to the ladies in here. And it's just because I named him that, because I named another guy, Uncle Baby Billy from the Righteous Gemstones. And come on, guys, come here. So come here. Here you go. Danny's back here. Everybody say hello. You guys are big time. You're on Shane's show right now. There he is right there.
That's Danny. Okay.
That's Danny Werfel.
Danny's a sharp-looking fellow.
Yeah. You know, every now and then it's kind of fun to hear him out here crowing in the morning. I'll say, "Shut up, Danny Werfel! Shut up!"
Well, we hope you enjoyed that 1-year anniversary video that our great producer put together for us.
Crack staff, baby.
Yes, we want to thank all our great sponsors, all our great viewers out there. It's going to get bigger and better as we move forward. Now it's time to talk about what happened over the weekend. Again, our thoughts and prayers are with Keontae Johnson. That's the number one deal. But yeah, Florida loses a game that they shouldn't have lost. There's a lot of reasons why they lost. It's not because of Marco Wilson. If anybody thinks that, they need to check their head, because we played horrible on offense. We were terrible on defense. Special teams was not very good. You don't play well in those three phases. And here's the thing, that LSU team, JC, was better because of one reason. And I've said it many times on this show.
Well, their quarterback played better.
The right quarterback. Because
he played better.
When Miles Brennan went down, you know, they started Finley. He played okay. But then they would play Finley like the first three quarters. The game would be out of hand, and they throw Max Johnson there, and you could tell he knew what he was doing. I thought he played outstanding. But the problem was their secondary. They were playing with walk-ons in their secondary, and we threw for a bunch of yards. But go ahead, JC. You give me your opinion.
No. Finish your thought, QB. I want to hear the rest of it.
I am so upset at the Gator Nation for piling on Marco Wilson because, A, he made a mistake. You got to live with it. And people talking about who needs to be kicked off the team. These are people that have never played sports or never been part of a team. When have you had anybody who makes a mistake be kicked off a team? That's the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, look, it was. Listen, nobody's defending what he did. Obviously, he feels bad about it or badly about it, and it was kind of you know what it was? It was a spontaneous thing, and I think everybody has at some point in their life, whether they're playing sports or just doing anything in a crowd, has done something spontaneous without thinking first, and then looking back and going, "Oh no, what did I do? Why did I do that?" And listen, they're playing a very physical team and a physical game, and granted, yes. LSU only had 50-some-odd scholarship players. LSU's season is a joke. LSU self-imposed a ban, which at 3-5 is a joke, you know. But I think it was kind of cool they did that. It made me laugh, actually. But listen, they played the best game of their season, and it just happened to be on a night where Florida was off. And Florida was off in many cases, like you said. I think the biggest thing that bothered me was all those 3-and-outs. That surprised me because I think we've gotten used to watching Florida be so efficient and so good on offense that when somebody actually plays defense or if Florida somehow makes a few mistakes, it's like, oh, dear God, what the world has changed because, you know, wow, these guys are human. And listen, they just didn't have their best night. And they still could have won the game. Many are arguing that they should have won the game. Of course, if McPherson hits the field goal, they could have won the game. If their kid York doesn't hit a 57-yarder, LSU probably doesn't win the game. So, you know, ifs and buts, candy and nuts, Christmas is coming and all this, and LSU now has kind of spoiled Florida's run at the playoff. But the could still win the SEC championship, I guess, by winning the game against Alabama if you think that can happen. So,
yeah, here's the bottom line. It was one of the most disappointing losses in Florida history because of what was on the line. But if you have any common sense, the chances of us winning next week, whether we won Saturday, are very slim. That team that we're going to play is way better than we are. People don't want to hear that, but I try to give my opinion. Mm-hmm. We didn't coach well the other night, and we didn't play well. We get stuffed. We could have kicked a field goal the first drive, go up 3-0 against a team that's a wounded team. Trask throws 2 interceptions, a pick 6. The other one was in the red zone. He fumbles before half. It gives him – the offense gave him 10 points.
Yeah.
Okay? Then we had 3 straight 3-and-outs against LSU. Defense didn't play great. So if anybody wants to put this on Marco Wilson, they have no clue about how football is played.
Well, there's also the thing with Kyle Pitts that can you explain that a little bit for me?
Well, I think he got banged up in the Tennessee game a little bit. I don't know if he practiced or not. He went out in pregame warm-up. From what Todd McShay, who was there, I think it was Todd McShay, said he looked great in warm-ups, but obviously whether it was the coaches, training staff, or whatever, wanted to hold him out. Should he have played? We don't know. We're not there. Would it have helped? Obviously. But look, bottom line is you got to give credit to LSU. And we were not ready to play. We had a lot of bonehead mistakes, and it is what it is. We still have an opportunity to play another game, try to win a championship. But it's a shame.
Yeah, what's also frustrating to me is I pounded all week last week and the week before that very little good can come out of having to play that game because other people just refuse to play. Ohio State didn't play, Clemson didn't play, Notre Dame didn't play, Cincinnati didn't play, Texas A&M didn't play. A lot of teams didn't play. Alabama did play, but in a game where you have very little to gain other than to just maintain your status, because nothing would have changed if Florida had won that game. Then you're at risk of something bad happening, and that's exactly what happened. They lost, and so. In a game where it materially changed Florida's fortunes, if only they would lose, that happened. And now it's kind of, I think they're on the outside looking in now, unfortunately. So
yeah, we got a Facebook Live here. Facebook Live,
bad night.
Brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Russell says, interesting situation now. Does Florida lay down or come out and play motivated and mad?
Oh, no. There's
Bama
no
has
doubt.
Everything to lose, and Florida has nothing to lose. Bama has nothing to lose.
No. Alabama's in the thing, and Florida.
They're in.
Look, they're going to get Florida's best day. Alabama is going to get Florida's best game because this is an opportunity for guys to walk out this year and say, we won the SEC championship. And, listen, when you've got what some are saying, maybe one of the best teams the conference has ever seen playing, and you've got a chance to beat them and push them from the 1 hole to maybe the 4 hole, you're going to try to win it and put an exclamation point on the end of your season to erase this disappointment that Florida is feeling today. So I think, Russell, the answer is they're going to come out with both barrels firing, and they're going to throw the ball 50 times. There's no question about that. Is there, QB?
No, they're going to try to throw it 50 times. I don't know if that's a good idea. JR on YouTube.
Can't run it.
Right, but pass protection could be an issue against this group.
Yeah.
JR on YouTube asks, does Mullen hold the defense to the same standard as he does the offense? Yes. Here's what I'd like for people to listen, and I want everybody to really listen to me closely. Okay.
It's school time for the QB.
It is. Okay. Dan Mullen is the head football coach / CEO of the Florida football program. Yes or no, JC?
Absolutely affirmative.
So what I think people think that all he does is he goes into the offensive staff meetings and puts together a game plan, and then he shows up in the stadium on Saturday and goes, what the hell are we doing on defense? That ain't how it works.
Didn't we see him kill Todd Grantham on the sideline a few weeks ago?
Right, but he sits in every defensive meeting. He knows the plan that we have going into the game. And when Todd Grantham or whoever, sometimes offensively it's between him, Hevesy, Gonzalez, and Billy Brian Johnson, they all give suggestions. Well, let's just say Brian Johnson gives a suggestion for a play. Who can override that play?
The head coach.
Okay. So when Todd Grantham tells the signal guys, I don't know who signals our defensive plays it calls in. Mm-hmm. If he calls a 5-man pressure, cover one corner blitz, whatever it is, the head coach can say, don't do that. Okay.
Zone.
So I want people to understand that we had a couple corner blitzes, which I have no problem with corner blitzes the other night, but our kids didn't do what they were taught to do. Now, you can say that's coaching, but kids make mistakes. Quarterback made mistakes the other night. You know, it's and you know who's got the top ranked defense in the league? Alabama. You know who the second ranked defense in the league is? Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't think really that if Florida had come out in that game and won by 22, 23 points, that it would change the way next week's game is going to go. I think Florida, regardless of what happened the other night, is still going to play their best game of the year against Alabama. And the reason for that is because of who they're playing and what's on the line. And all of these things that happened against LSU can get worked out, QB. You know this, right? I mean, this kind of stuff can get fixed. So,
well, look, it's every game is different, and what people,
that's what I'm saying.
The thing that surprised me the most about the LSU game was
they didn't, the punting.
We didn't convert when we were in the red zone. We had like 5 possessions inside the 30 that we scored 0 points on.
Yeah, right. That's
a problem. That's right. A problem.
And, well, yeah, and I you know, that surprises everybody. I mean,
well, it's turnovers and turnover on downs, whatever the issue is. I am so bothered at how people are blaming this on Marco Wilson, because if you've ever been a part of a team, you know, you have no idea what that kid is going through, and he feels horrible. But again, that is not the reason the Florida Gators lost to LSU.
You know, it was one of those nights where also you saw that interception that LSU pulled off on the goal line and out of bounds, how that ball bounces the way it did and how that guy stays in bounds and how the guy who flipped it to the guy who caught it somehow didn't go out of bounds. You know, when things like that happen, sometimes it's not your night, right? And that didn't mean that they were going to lose, but it did mean to me that LSU wasn't going away in this game and that it was going to be a close finish. So sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way and you get bad breaks. I mean, that's just a fact. Look at Alabama and Ole Miss. Look at Alabama and Auburn when they played that game. I mean, sometimes the ball just doesn't go your way, QB.
No, I agree. And I mean, I was extremely disappointed. You know, I try to, when I watch games, I try to take my orange and blue glasses off. Obviously, I want us to win. I want us to play well. But you got to give credit to LSU for everything they've gone through with all the kids they lost, all the people that opted out, how they played. And we whether you want to say we weren't ready to play, we had a bad plan, whatever you want to use, they outplayed us, they outcoached us. And if anybody thinks Marco's the reason we lost, please send a comment and we can discuss it.
Okay. Okay. Well, having said that, QB, somehow, and I didn't like the pick, but I took on Friday LSU in the 23 points, and Florida didn't cover in this particular instance, but the reason they were laying 23.5 is because of everything that's happened prior to this game. And I guess that's why they play the game, right, QB? So for Florida, they had a lot to lose, certainly very little to gain, and it happened. But on the week, you went 7-7 on the Peachland Picks contest, and I went 8-6. So I'm 7 games up on you. And, you know, we've got a great weekend coming up. Championship Saturday is going to have the regular season finales for some teams, like Texas A&M is going to play Ole Miss, I think, and there will be some other games. Not sure why they're playing Vandy and Georgia, but that's because it's on the schedule is why they're playing Vandy and Georgia. But the championship games will have Iowa State playing Oklahoma. Great matchup there. We're going to have Ohio State playing Northwestern, who won this weekend. And then, of course, the Florida-Alabama game, along with the Clemson and Notre Dame game. Florida-Alabama is the headliner at night, and Clemson and Notre Dame will precede that. Usually it's the other way around. They play the SEC game at 4 o'clock and the ACC championship at night. Not sure why they flipped it.
Well, because they thought so much was going to be on the line for the SEC game.
Well,
that's why.
Yeah. But still, look, it's going to be a great day to watch. It's Championship Saturday next weekend. We've somehow gotten the SEC has gotten to 10 games, and I just laugh at the Pac-12 and Big Ten, haphazardly going through these games in empty stadiums. It just shows me that the administration, as much as they didn't want the season to happen, was literally forced to and did very little. The Big Ten, that is, to really make it so that these games would be played. And proof of that is the fact that Ohio State has played 5 games.
Yeah. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. December is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC here on the Titan MR hotline, we'll be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com here shortly. Again, please pray for Keontae Johnson. It's not a good situation. We need all the prayers we can get. Some other news and notes around college football, JC. Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, he's out.
Just got $21 million to not wear his vest on the sidelines anymore.
Yeah,
and he's owed half of that in 30 days.
In 30 days. I tell you, his agent and he are fantastic at negotiating contracts. Obviously, he'll get another job somewhere. He's probably not in any hurry right now. And Auburn is going after Hugh Freeze. You may have. I mean, is there any question that's going to be probably where Hugh Freeze lands? It's the best chance that Auburn has to get a coach that is proven to challenge Alabama. And even though Gus won some fluky games against Alabama, he was still 3-5. So if you're happy with 3-5, then by all means, but that's not a winning record. Auburn this year has had a true issue with consistency throughout his last 5 years. He hasn't finished higher than 6th in the conference in offensive yards per play over the last 6 seasons. And the only time it finished higher than 6th in total offense was the SEC West title year of 2017 when they averaged 450 yards per game. But, the consistency of the Auburn offense is what doomed him. And the quarterback play, I think in particular, is what doomed him. If it's not for Nick Marshall pulling off miracles and Cam played for Gene Chizik, but Nick Marshall was the guy that pulled off the miracles for Gus Malzahn. And without Nick Marshall, I don't know, man. I mean, their quarterback play has been pretty bad at Auburn. And so that's kind of what I think surprised them. What surprised me is that they would give a guy a 7-year contract in an environment like this. And now they're going to unload the money. But with that new ESPN deal, QB, and with boosters coming in to help, I don't think Auburn's really caring too much about the money.
Yeah, and I had one of my sources throughout the league text me yesterday when all this went down. He says that Hugh Freeze has already been cleared by the SEC.
Yeah, he's coming.
Come back and coach.
He is coming to Auburn. That's the job. When you look at South Carolina, Tennessee, Auburn, pick one of those 3. I think you're going to go with Auburn. And even though Tennessee's in the East and Auburn's in the West and dealing with Alabama, Tennessee has to play Alabama every year too. So, and Florida.
I think he's going to get fired.
You think Jeremy's out? Well, I mean, that could be the next one. While we see the coaching carousel, Derek Mason, Will Muschamp, the question now becomes, here we are close to December 16th, QB. What's happening with early signing for some of these schools?
Wednesday.
Right. So, I mean, that's the day after tomorrow. I mean, could you not have just let Gus Malzahn get his class in here, give him one more year? They're going to play Alabama at home next year. Alabama will not have Mac Jones playing quarterback. I mean, the schedule could work out better for Auburn. I think I would have kept Gus one more year. But
what
that's
if
what Auburn did.
Mac may decide to come back? He's only a junior.
He could, but I think Auburn really wants Hugh Freeze. That's the reason why they fired Gus. And you can make it all about Gus. I think it's more about Hugh Freeze, to tell you the truth. I do. I think I don't think there's any question that he's going to Auburn. I would be shocked if he didn't. It's a pretty good job.
Yeah. It is. I mean, they've lost at least 4 games the last 7 years. So
yeah.
I mean, you got something right.
You got money there. You got a rabid fan base. I think you got a nice little place to live. It's in the South. It's, by the way, QB, geographically speaking, Auburn is the closest SEC school to Florida.
Yeah. Yes, I do know that.
You did know that? Okay.
Yes, it's a shorter drive than everywhere else, so it makes it closer. So, JC, our Peachland Dentistry, JC and the QB weekend picks, what happened?
Yeah. Okay, so in that, you went 7-7. You took Duke, I took FSU, but you took North Carolina and I took Miami. You took Utah and I took Colorado. You won that one. But you had Navy, I had Army. We both lost with Mississippi State in the points. I took Tennessee. You took Vanderbilt. Great pick there.
That's just because I'm ready for Jeremy Pruitt to be fired.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. We both took Alabama. Okay, so we both took Missouri and lost that game. Georgia, they probably think they're the best team in the SEC now because JT Daniels is playing. You had Florida, I had LSU, and I hated that pick, but I took the points and it covered. And then we both lost with the Chiefs by 1 point, but we both had the Buffalo Bill Mafia last night against the Steelers. And if you look at the AFC, the Steelers have had to play 3 games in 12 days. Is that right? Or 16 days? But regardless, they've had a lot of games here in a short period of time. And I think once they get rested up and healthy, if they can, those are the 3 teams in the AFC that, that have a chance to win it. I would say Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and of course, Kansas City.
We've got a couple of Facebook Lives here brought to you by Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Kyle asks, who can Auburn get? I think we talked about that. They're getting
They're going after Hugh Freeze. That's
and then Jeff says, Shane, I appreciate your words about Marco. Spent time yesterday blasting folks who were blasting him. He's a decent kid who made a mistake. People who kick him when he's down need to look in the mirror. I agree 100%.
We've all made spontaneous decisions that have sometimes come back to bite us, and certainly because he threw that shoe, they got the penalty, but it didn't mean they were going to score. It just meant that the drive was still alive. The defense could have held them, but they didn't, and they got down there to kick a field goal.
Right, but there's so much that happened before that incident that people need to think about.
I agree. I mean, why are you in a close game with this garbage team that lost by 79,000 points the week before? Why? And we already talked about why, and I'm sure Scott Carter's going to add to what we said. But you're in a close game against a garbage team that just self-imposed with a 3-5 record. Think about it, folks. That's why you lost the game, because you played like crap against LSU, folks. That's why you freaking lost. And if you play like that against Alabama, they're going to dump you on the side of the road. So play better.
Well, we could play well and still get dumped on the side of the road.
That's true.
They're that good. JC, let's get our This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. This month, get a free annual maintenance plan with every residential duct cleaning purchase, $199 value. Our service department is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for your convenience. Have you got your ducts cleaned yet, JC?
I've got to get that done. It's just everybody's so busy these days with the holidays.
Make sure you tell them that JC and the QB sent you get a discount. But This Day in Sports, 1996. The 62nd Heisman Trophy Award was given to one guy named Danny Werfel on this day.
Yep. Danny was, man, I remember the 90s like it was yesterday, because that's when I got to cover the team with the TV station. And, man, that was fun football to watch and fun football to cover. It started with you guys in the early 90s, and it went right on through to Rex Grossman and so forth. Rex Grossman, I think, was the last quarterback Spurrier coached before he left. And the Orange Bowl was the last game he coached before he left. And Rex lit up somebody, and it was a great run in the 90s.
It was was it Syracuse or Maryland?
Yeah, I think it was Syracuse. Yeah, and Rex just went off, and I made him a little money in the next level, and that was Coach Spurrier's last game.
Hey, by the way, JC, did you see the ending of the Ball State?
Yeah,
was it Western Michigan?
Yeah.
One of those MAC schools.
They were throwing the ball around. It was Western Michigan and Ball.
They had 13 laterals, and then one of the laterals got, just so our people, you got to Google it. One of the laterals got intercepted by Ball State, I believe, one of the teams, the defensive team.
And the guy got speared.
And that guy fumbled it. Yeah. So the team that was doing all the laterals that was behind picks it up. The people are storming the field, and they run for a touchdown through all the chaos.
But they
had to go to replay. But one of the laterals was a forward pass.
Yes, but then the guy who recovered the ball took a helmet right in the ribs, and I think that's what inflamed some of the tension on that field, because both teams had to be separated, and because then after that guy got speared, a guy on the other team got blindsided, and it just turned ugly. But yeah, I did see that.
Did you see where Mackenzie Milton is going to go?
It's going to be a Seminole, and how do you think he's going to play after all this time off he's had?
I don't know. I mean, time will tell.
I mean, we'll have to see. But the kid was good, man. They were undefeated when he played with them, And, you know, he had a horrible injury, kind of like Alex Smith, just a terrible, debilitating injury. And now he's ready to come back and play. So good for him. I'm happy for him. I mean, you know, he's going to play for Florida State. They could probably use him.
Yep. All right, JC.
Yeah.
We'll see you later
Wednesday.
in the week.
You bet.
Go enjoy the 1-year anniversary. Oh, by the way, on that video, it said you've worn over 28 different hat combinations. And you, of course, Buffalo wins last night. So you had Amazon last night.
I'm adding to it, baby. 47.com brands. Buy the cleanup hat. It's the best. There's a little plug JC. There for you. All right.
At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 4 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. Going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we'll be joined by FloridaGators.com senior writer Scott Carter. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios.
This is Shane Matthews. Thank you for listening to PodUp with Matthews in the Morning. You can also check me out on Inside the Huddle with Steve Russell and the head ball coach Steve Spurrier. Tune in every Tuesday during football season on WRUF 98.1 FM, 8:50 a.m. at 10 o'clock in the morning, or find us on your favorite podcast platform. We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Ribs, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Wrap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Radware for all your promotional needs, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Dar Shakow Insurance. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration Point's where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, Nike, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar. Opening soon, Dave & Buster's, and coming spring of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. We're now going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Hey, Shane. Doing well. I think if a Spurrier's restaurant was already open, I may have stopped by there for a beer the other night to drown some sorrows.
Yeah, I tell you what, before we get to the game, any news from the UAA on Keontae Johnson's status?
Nothing as of this morning, Shane. The latest, obviously, you saw yesterday afternoon, still at Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, serious but stable condition or critical. So you're hoping for the best. I mean, I don't want to speculate with anything. I just know that when you don't hear anything for a longer period of time, the more concern you get. So I'm just hoping for the best for Keontae. I mean, he's such a good guy, a huge part of the program, and just keep him in your prayers right now. He needs it.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about that. To the game Saturday night, very disappointing. Maybe one of the worst losses in Florida football history with just what was on the line against a horrible football team. The Marco Wilson incident, and I just talked to JC about it, and I can't tell you how many people called me yesterday, all upset. I said, look, Marco made a mistake. He realizes it. But we didn't play good football. We had plenty of opportunities to win that game. Offense gives them 10 points. We don't We turn it over a bunch in the red zone. It's just it was an overall team loss, not just one guy.
It truly was. I mean, I was having a conversation like this yesterday with someone, and how many times do you lose a game and you have a chance to tie the game on a kick, and the kicker is kind of an afterthought. That's where we are. That's because of Marco's shoe toss, but there were so many what ifs in this game, Shane. You mentioned a lot of them. I mean, getting to the red zone 8 times, scored 4 touchdowns. That's not going to cut it. That's just not going to do it when your season and so much is riding on the line. Obviously, the LSU, I give them some credit. They probably played their best game of the year, but Florida played its probably worst game of the year. And you add those 2 combinations into the mix, and that's what you're going to get. And I know Marco Wilson is, his incident is going to highlight the loss. I understand that, but there was so much more that went into this. Whether it was the lack of offensive efficiency, defensively gave up some long drives again. The missed kick, just so many things. It was just an ugly performance from the Gators at a time we could afford one.
Yeah, it's a shame. Like you said, a ton of 3 and outs, no wasted trips to the red zone. Do you kick the field goal in the first drive instead of go for it? There's so many things that go into a win and a loss in a football game. You get on social media, and I had to put my phone away because I was getting so irritated at, these people. Marco needs to be kicked off the team. He should. I mean, come on, people. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And those people obviously have never been a part of a team at any level. You don't kick a kid off for making a mistake like that. He probably feels worse than anyone. Coach Mullen, I think he had his presser yesterday for the SEC.
Yep.
Did he say anything about how Marco's doing?
He said he talked to him after the game the other night. Obviously, he's disappointed. Marco is really down. Mullen said it's a shame that people are going to point to that as the reason that they lost for the game, and he said a lot of the stuff that we just talked about. I mean, there were so many things that went into that loss, and they added up, and again, it came down to a situation where if they had made a kick, it could have gone to overtime. It was a situation before then. They got to stop. Marco doesn't throw that. They maybe win in regulation. There was all those opportunities where they left points on the field. It just adds up. But he did address the Marco situation, saying, hey, it was a bad mistake. The guy feels terrible. A lot of what you're saying here, Shane. And, we live in an era where everybody's got an opinion, and now we get to see him and hear about him. Sometimes that does get overwhelming. I was like you. I had to kind of sign off on social yesterday because eventually it just gets to be too much, too repetitive. And, everybody's going to have their opinion. I mean,
okay, Kyle Trask throws a pick 6. Should we kick him off the team?
Yeah.
It's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
And the weirdest thing is, I really think that Marco Wilson, before that incident, he had his best game of the year. He was actually involved some, and he made a couple of plays in the passing game with breakups, and so it's really unfortunate for him because he's been under criticism all year, really, for some of his miscues on the field. But this took it to a whole nother level, and ironically, it came in the game where he probably did play his best game of the season.
Yeah, we got a question here or a comment on YouTube from Artie. He says, Matthews, I have to say Marco is kind of the reason they lost the game. Florida made the stop. They had a chance to right their wrongs by closing that game out. Then Marco made the bonehead mistake. Well, you have your opinion, Artie, but your quarterback threw a pick 6, quarterback fumbled. Offense gave them 10 points. Offense had 8 trips to the red zone, score 4 touchdowns. That is not the reason they lost the game, but that's your opinion. You can have it. Let's talk about one good thing that did happen in this game. I thought Kadarius Toney was phenomenal. I think he's the most improved player, maybe in all of college football, what he's done this year. He had a ton of total yards. I just thought it was an outstanding performance.
Yeah, when you go down the list of why they lost the game, Kadarius Toney's not on that list. He played again. He 192 yards receiving. I think he chipped in with 56 rushing. Had a career game, and even that last drive where they had to move the ball in the final seconds. I mean, he had the last two receptions that got him down to the LSU 33, and on the last one, he was clearly hurting. But he was out there, stayed in, and you're right, Shane. He's by far the most improved player on the Gators roster this year. I think you could probably look across college football and be hard pressed to find anybody that matches him. I mean, Nick Saban on the SEC championship press conference yesterday was asked about Kadarius because he was an Alabama kid, and obviously the Crimson Tide wanted him. And he said, "Look, we would love to have had him here because you're seeing what we thought he was going to become. I mean, just a tremendous player." A unique ability in those cuts that he can make. Even Saban pointed those out. The way he can run routes, it's unique to other players. He can do things that other guys can't. But it was a shame to see. I don't know if you saw a photo of him at the end of that game, Shane.
Yeah.
That was one of the greatest photos I've seen just in recent times, and it kind of symbolized his performance and just a tough night for him, but a great guy to have on your team.
Yeah, that was a great photo, no question. We got a text here on the Titan Tomorrow hotline from Susan. Susan wants to know, Scott, can you tell us why Pitts didn't play?
I mean, as of right now, I'm going to have to just say Dan Mullen didn't play him. I mean, what else is there to ask? I mean, he was out on the field in pregame. You looked at him and you saw him down there, and he looked fine. But there's some things that are there that I don't know about that maybe some others don't know about. There's a reason why they kept him out. I mean, Dan Mullen's really probably the only guy who can answer that directly because it was ultimately going to be his decision. Although I know they said I think he was scratched for the medical staff. I don't know. It's going to be one of those situations that will be debated until here to the end of time, Shane, whether Kyle Pitts was able to play or not. Mullen said he hadn't practiced all week. We've seen guys not practice all week and don't get on the field. We've seen them get on the field. I know they've taken extra concern with Kyle all year in a lot of ways. You can even go back to camp. In the scrimmages, they held him out of all those scrimmages. So, it's going to be something that's debated for a while. Though.
What was funny is this is the one home game I didn't go to because it's late. And I stayed home and watched it on TV, but I can't remember who the sideline reporter was talking to Coach at halftime.
I don't.
And they actually asked him, could we see Pitts in the second half? I wonder if there's ever been a player, and I don't even know if it's a college rule. If a kid is not dressed out, can he suit up at halftime and come play?
That's a good question, too, because I don't think I've encountered that. Usually if they get scratched before a game officially on the inactive list, they're not able to play.
Well, that's right, because that means we dressed – well, usually you can only dress 70 for conference games, but he warmed up, so I wonder if we had 69 guys dressed. So
I don't know. That's a good question, though. I'm sure – would he have made a difference, Shane? I don't know. He certainly it would not have hurt the Gators, but it's going to be, as we said, it's just one of those situations that adds some extra intrigue to this game.
Yeah. So let's talk about heading to Atlanta this week. Still got a goal out there to win the SEC. However, it's going to be extremely difficult against one of the best college teams I've ever seen. What do you think the mindset, or how were these kids after the game on their Zoom calls, talking to the press?
I mean, they were obviously a distraught, beaten down bunch. I mean, they knew what was at stake, and I don't know. You're going to have to bounce back, obviously, if you want to have any chance against Alabama. You're going to have to bring out some fire that we did not see early against LSU, but it was a team that's disappointed. I mean, they know that they let an unbelievable opportunity get away from them in terms of still going to Atlanta this week and being in the consideration for the college football playoff for the first time in pro program history. And obviously, Kyle Trask's Heisman bid took a hit. So they just lost a lot of momentum. Shane, I don't know if they beat LSU, if it has one bit of difference against Alabama on Saturday. Just like losing, I don't know if it's going to impact them. But Alabama is going to be they've been a tremendous, I guess, hurdle for this program for a while now, and it was going to be that way either way. Florida's going to, if they go up there and win, they'll definitely shock some people. They're not going to be picked to do that, but it was just a very disappointing loss, as you mentioned, coming into the show. One of the tougher ones I think Florida fans and these players will probably have ever experienced, Shane.
Yeah, I agree. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. Got a few more minutes here with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Doring, speaking of Doring, he tweeted, or maybe I saw it on SEC Network, he felt like this is one of the worst losses in Florida football history because of what was at stake and against a team you were expected to clobber. Do you think it's one of the worst ever?
Yeah, certainly on the level of the disappointment, what was at stake. I mean, it ranks high. I was talking to someone else about this. To me, this is just my opinion. Like as a longtime Florida follower, I look back at that 2001 loss at home to Tennessee as one that that still is going to rank higher on my list than Saturday nights, because I think that 2001 Gator team was a better team than this 2020 team. They were playing for a lot of the same things, but if you're matching the 01 against 20 Gators, I'm picking the 01 team head to head every year. But there's also some other, obviously you look back at, a couple of the early SEC championships you were involved in, those were disappointing, but this one with what's at stake and where the program has been for the last decade, and you sense that, okay, they're back among the elite. They're back where they want to be. And now to crash through that door, you beat LSU, you go up there, and everything's right there for you against Alabama. And even if they pull off an upset on Saturday against Alabama, it's fascinating to see how the committee treats that, because it just opens up so many questions about, would they still get in? I find it hard pressed they would still get in the 4-game playoff or 4-team playoff if they won. But, who knows? I mean, everything's off the table. But you knew if they won and they beat LSU, then there's no question.
Yeah, we got a Facebook Live here brought to you by Melton Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Rick asks, do either of you know if UF is testing players who have had COVID for any heart problems? I know for a fact. Here's what they do, because UF Health does a tremendous job. When you come in as a freshman before any season, they test your heart, everything you can think of. They do it every year. And then they do it if you test it for COVID as well, so they can look and see. So, I
like to add a little something to that, Shane, because I actually wrote a big story about this in August. If you're a student athlete at UF, and they've been doing this for several years, and I've actually wrote about myocarditis 2 or 3 years ago before it ever got linked in the COVID-19 pandemic that we're dealing with now. But what you said, they get a first year as soon as they get here. They do a 3rd year and a 5th year. And it's like comparing apples to apples. They have all these tests over the years to where they can compare them in COVID times with what their other tests were. So that's something that's been on their radar. Paul Silvestri, the team physician, we talked about that. He said back in April when all this first started, they were already tackling the heart issue part of COVID. So, it's something they do have a grip on in that terms.
Yeah, we're speaking with Scott Carter, FloridaGators.com, from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, live on a Monday. We had a couple of people ask or text on the Titan Our text line about, did that ruin Kyle Trask's Heisman opportunities? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think they took a huge blow. I mean, even though he throws for 474 yards, 2 interceptions, a fumble, he breaks Danny Warfel's school record for touchdowns. I'm not saying that he can't win it. Like I said, if they were to go up and beat Alabama, Trask has a great game. He outshines Mac Jones, and Devontae Smith is held in check. I can see him still getting an individual award. So I'm not ruling it out, but I just know that he's probably not as locked in as he was. I don't think he's the front runner now in the odds from I saw over the weekend. It's just that, like Dan Mullen said all season, you keep winning the big games, those awards take care of themselves. When you lose one, it hurts your chances. So we'll see how that shakes out. He's got a remarkable story that some people will vote for regardless of that loss.
Yeah, for some reason, I got a funny feeling Devontae Smith's going to win the Heisman. I don't know why, but I just do.
Get a lot of. He's the late cover, and I'm like you. I sense that he might be the guy now. The last couple weeks and what he did against LSU, I mean, that performance was just tremendous. That catch, we always talk about Heisman moments. That one-handed catch might be his Heisman moment.
Well, that, and then you think back to the year Desmond Howard won it. Desmond played receiver, and he had that punt return against Ohio State that kind of sealed it. And I can't remember if Desmond was an everyday punt returner. And I know Devontae Smith hasn't been an everyday punt returner for Alabama. They put him back there against Arkansas, and he takes it to the house. So I think if he has a really good game against us, I would not be shocked if he wins it at all.
I'm right there with you on that, Shane. And he's a great player. Haven't seen a receiver win it in a while, have we? I can't remember off the top of my head. So
I think the last one may have been Desmond Howard back in 1991.
Yeah, I bet you Desmond Howard's going to be voting for him.
Yeah, I think a lot of those. Yeah, you're right. Well, Scott, we appreciate you joining the program. You got any good stuff online for people to read this week?
It's all Alabama, Florida, Shane. See if the Gators can go up there and kind of salvage something. And I'll have more this week just on that game and the kind of the mood as they go through the week.
All right, Scott, be safe, my man. Appreciate you joining the program.
All right, Shane, have a good one.
We're going to take our final time out of the program. When we come back, we'll wrap up this Monday edition.
Hey, Gator Nation, this is your former head ball coach, Steve Spurrier. Check out our show, Inside the Huddle with Shane Matthews and Steve Russell, every Tuesday during football season on 8:50 a.m. and 98.1 FM WRUF at 10 o'clock a.m.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Aver and Smith Personal Injury Attorneys, Orange Theory Fitness, PRP Regeneration Specialist, and Dowling Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, podupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Monday edition of PodUp with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank JC for joining us and then Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. Want to thank all our great sponsors out there and all you loyal listeners. Y'all saw we've almost reached about 2 million viewers in about a year here. So things are going to get bigger and better. We're looking forward to everyone being involved. Tomorrow's show, we'll have Buddy Martin from the Buddy Martin Show. We'll also have Chris Doring from the SEC Network talking about the LSU game and previewing the SEC Championship. Make sure you follow us and like us. Today's show's brought to you by Wrap Spot. Take care, folks. See you tomorrow.